At NEMA, this is what's going on. As the war against terrorism goes on, we're beginning to hear about NEMA men and women who have been in theater, seeing that the warfighters and decision makers have the geospatial intelligence they need when they need it. Who are these NEMA people? What were they up to? Jerome Hobart is a NEMA geospatial analyst who was part of a quick response team, working initially with the 10th Mountain Division, then with the 101st Airborne and members of the coalition. Another member of the NEMA team, Chief Warrant Officer Hector Cuevas, was featured in the April Edge.
It was a different situation than I was used to here. Photo number 3 is a picture of my sleeping area. It is not plush, but it was livable, and my laundry is hanging next to it. I got to do my own laundry the day before that. In the picture, I am standing on the ramp on the back of a CH-47, looking down as we are in flight. We're approximately 500 feet off the ground, traveling about 100 miles an hour. Our perimeter came under fire a couple times while I was in Kandahar, and that was a little nerve-wracking. I'd never been in the military. Sure. But the guys I was with were very professional, and they made sure that I was very safe. The proudest moment for me personally was seeing the look on the customer's face. When I was able to hand these guys that usually aren't used to seeing the products that we could produce for them in the amount of time, seeing those guys when they see it and having them thank you constantly. And the truly best part was when they would come back, and they come back and say, I want it done the same way you did it. It was great. Can you do it like this? And they keep coming back, and they knew my name.
That's great.
This was my first trip overseas, and I was scheduled to be in Saudi Arabia for 3 months. I left the end of December, and I was due to return the end of March. I actually ended up in Afghanistan, in Bagram, for about 5 weeks, and Bagram's about 30 miles north of Kabul.
Bagram was a modest airstrip expanded under the Soviets during the 1980s. Currently, it serves as the main in-country base for coalition forces.
My scariest moment was actually getting off of the C-130 at Bagram Airfield, and the conditions were blackout, so there were no light sources at all. And the guys that were coming there from the airfield had on night vision goggles and wearing Kevlar and carrying their M16s, their M4s. So here I am with my flashlight and my laptop.
She also had her Red Hen, a type of GPS camera. But what was she there to do?
The type of work I was doing in Saudi Arabia was more of a liaison capacity, reaching back to NEMA here in Bethesda and Reston and St. Louis to find out if maps were releasable to different countries because it was a coalition base. When I was actually in Bagram, Afghanistan, I was working in a fusion cell, and I was working with other agencies from the intelligence community. We worked on Operation Anaconda. Yes, I was getting information from the other agencies and overlaying it on my laptop, on top of a map or on top of an image, whatever data was available for that area, and providing them of where different forces are located and where cave locations were, any kind of information that they were given, we would lay it on top of the map background to provide them the complete picture.
I was overseas for 90 days. And prior to that, I had served in Kosovo too for 90 days as a deployment with the NIST also. And this one that I just went out on for Operation Enduring Freedom came about because some people that I had served with in Kosovo had called me up and remembered me, and they asked me to go out with them and join them again. I felt like I was doing a lot. And if there's one thing I could add here, as somebody that's out there in the field in Kosovo and in Operation Enduring Freedom, I may get all the attention when I'm out there. It's like the tip of the spear. But I couldn't have done anything out there without the products created by everybody within the NEMA organization, from imagery to mapping products. Nothing goes on out there without a reference as to where things are happening. And that's why I'm very proud of NEMA, and I think everybody has NEMA in a high regard because of that.
Time magazine recently had a lead story called A Letter from Bagram Air Base. Time says that an air of permanence has taken hold. Daily press briefings close with the same two statements from the coalition spokesman. The hunt continues. The war in Afghanistan is not over. To which we can only add, and NEMA is proud to be part of it.
It was a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely came back with a lot of lessons learned.
Strenuous. Strenuous in the time it takes to do a lot of it. Exciting.
At NEMA, that's what's going on. I'm Wells Huff.